Hello, this is Alex at the stadium, where every day is Community Day. And today is Wednesday, May 20th, 2020. And we're going to talk about some comic books today and things about what people expect out of comics and stuff like that. So a lot of times people think of comics, they think of, Batman, they think of Iron Man, they think of Captain America, they think of Superman, these characters that were created through comics that have been around for a long time. But a lot of comics, that's not the case. Comics is more than just a way to create characters and have comic book characters. It's a medium that can be useful in telling all sorts of stories. So I have some examples here of things that had already existed before they were made into any kinds of comics. So first here I have, there's the series of Star Wars comics that's pretty new, and it focuses on Darth Vader. It focuses on a lot of the pain that he goes through emotionally and sometimes physically, based on his life and his past actions. But this is while he is, Lord Vader, Terror of the Galaxy, all of this. There's even in my quick skim through this, there's I don't know what I can only describe as Rebel Squad Leader Jar Jar Binks, which I really did not expect, but apparently he's a formidable strategist, I guess, unless that's some other Gungan that just looks a lot like Jar Jar. They didn't actually say a name that I saw, but yeah. So Star Wars makes sense. Disney owns Marvel. Why not make some comics? Even though there's been plenty of Star Wars comics before that merger, but it certainly makes sense now, and it's a great way to explore a lot of these characters in such a vast universe. But that's not the only comics that Disney gets made. They also, have more lighthearted things. Just this is literally called Disney Comics and Stories, and it's just a bunch of different characters. This one focuses more on Scrooge McDuck, stuff like that. Just silly little comics, almost like Sunday morning cartoon, funny kind of stuff that you might see, but in comic form and with comic humor. And actually, what's interesting is actually the pages on this comic, they feel really nice. The print quality of this is really good, which I think a lot of people maybe wouldn't. I mean, yeah, it's Disney, but wouldn't expect as much out of something that's not like a serious story. Although interesting that these ones are made by IDW instead of Marvel. Yeah. And then different Disney thing, Incredibles Disney franchise takes the idea of superheroes, normally a comic book thing, and then makes it a movie. But now they're in comics now too. This one's from Dark Horse Comics, and it kind of has more of a pulp look to it, which lends itself really well to the origin and story and everything behind these characters. It's fun to see the little adventures in the family's life, as opposed to these big, possibly world-changing events that they run into in the movies. And it's not just Incredibles isn't the only thing that they've made things for. There's see this Little Mermaid, Snow White. That one's more as a book, but it's the same publishing, at least. It is a comic, but it's the regular story. And then there's various Toy Story things, which another idea that I want to see these everyday stories, for those characters that can be pretty exciting, just because the characters themselves are pretty unique and cool. Obviously, Frozen Everything Under the Sun, But yeah. Still sticking with animation, but changing away from Disney. There's this Ruby series that DC Comics has done. It's a mini series. This is the last one. Each one is focused on a different thing. So this one focuses largely on Blake, as she encounters a family that was affected by her actions as part of the White Fang, and she has to come to terms with some of the long-term impacts of what she did while she was with essentially a terrorist organization. Which is actually, I found this to be a really interesting storyline that I kind of wish they would expand on more in the show, but hey, I'll take what I can get. This comic is pretty good. Of course, Star Trek. This is more of a volume kind of thing. Super great print quality on this. It's really nice paperback, but it's a Star Trek story. It's set in the Star Trek universe, but it doesn't focus on any of the normal like human-centric, we'll say, Starfleet things. There's actually little to no humans in this whole book. I don't remember if there were any. I don't think there are. But so there's just another world that constantly is expanding and has so much to work with. Comics are a great way for something with that much material to kind of tell these stories of things that are normally completely off camera, and that's really nice. And then this is a fascinating thing to exist to me, because yesterday's video we talked about Dungeons and Dragons branching out into different things and trying stuff with different properties and expanding their game to encompass not just the normal world for Dungeons and Dragons. And this is a comic that I can't imagine the meeting with IDW Comics Publishing that led to this product being created, because they had to get license from Wizards of the Coast for Dungeons and Dragons. They had to get a license from Adult Swim for Rick and Morty, and then everyone had to collaborate together. And then there's also in addition to Adult Swim, there's the writing that would have been collaborated with the creators of the show as well. And it's really strange that this happened, but it's actually pretty cool. The idea being they play Dungeons and Dragons, or at least put themselves into a Dungeons and Dragons campaign. I think they put themselves in literally, but sometimes literally, sometimes not, it looks like. But there's these wonderful arts in the back. I think this is actually really cool. Some of the things that the Rick and Morty people do is actually really neat as far as the art style. Like, it looks ridiculous, but then sometimes they do cool things like this one's kind of cool with the beholder there and the mimic and stuff. It's neat. And then obviously this full page thing with the dragon. But and then in the back they even have the character sheets for the game they were playing, which is pretty cool. I really like this kind of cross-branding, branching out into comics where you really display the kinds of things that are exciting to the source material. I've only watched a few episodes of Rick and Morty, and I get the show, but I'm not like a huge fan. It's fine. I see why people like it. But when I see things like this, I think, oh, that's really cool. And it's exciting to see these kinds of things happen to comics. So, do you have any, for the actual discussion question part, do you have any favorite instances of a completely non-comic based franchise? And we'll, for argument's sake, we'll call Incredibles non-comic based. Yeah, it's superheroes, but it's a movie. Any non-comic based franchise that has created a series of comics or otherwise graphic novel or something of that sort that has proven to actually be very good within the comic medium. I want to hear about things you really like. I'm always looking for suggestions on broadening my library of things to read. So definitely looking forward to this. All right, well, that is me for today. I will see you all tomorrow, and thank you very much.